Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of BritWres is Dead and We Killed Her, a conversational slash interview podcast where I hopefully take an esteemed guest in the world of professional wrestling every episode, maybe a couple. We talk about wrestling, we talk about BritWres, and hopefully it's a good listen. I'm joined today in the studio by good friend and internationally famous YouTube celebrity Ryan118, and later on in the show we will have an interview with Aleah James over the phone. But Ryan, how are you doing?
Well, I hope I'm your esteemed guest for today. That's a good way to be introduced. I like it, but I'm very honoured to be on. Thank you for having me, Jake. And I'm looking forward to talking about some wrestling.
The first question I'll ask Aleah is, how many subscribers do you have?
Exactly. I want to see how she can compete with me, Ryan118. Look, we're 18,000 strong.
Oh, 18,000?
18,000 strong.
16,000 when we started the course.
Oh, exactly, mate.
Oh.
It grows every day.
The growth is incredible.
The boys are strong.
The boys are indeed strong. So, I wrote a few questions that I'm just going to ask every one of my guests. It doesn't matter if they're a wrestling fan, a wrestling promoter, a wrestler. So the first one is, what's your earliest memory of wrestling? And I'll actually give my answers as well, seeing as this is the first episode.
My earliest memory of wrestling, it's weird because when we were in primary school and the whole wrestling kind of thing kicked off, everybody was into, Jeff Hardy, Shawn Michaels, blah, blah. I was kind of one of the last people, and it's weird because now looking at it, I'm probably the last one who actually still watches wrestling. But I was one of the last people that got into it. I remember just sitting in my grand's one day, I must have been about 7 years old, and it was shortly after WrestleMania 23. And I just remember sticking on Raw, SmackDown. I believe it was SmackDown, actually, now I think about it. And Shawn Michaels was on the television. And I just remember watching him and the match that he was taking part in. And 7-year-old me, not knowing the whole, technical side of it, just sheer entertainment, just grappled me right into it. And that was probably my earliest memory, getting into that. And then just as I kind of grew up, started getting, as a child, you love your John Cena's, your Rey Mysterios and stuff, and then later on you develop into understanding.
20-year-old, you still love your John Cena's
I still
and your
love
Rey
my
Mysterios.
John Cena's and Rey Mysterios, but that's probably my earliest memory. It's definitely, I remember Shawn Michaels, trying to remember who was fighting, but that is the man who first stuck in my head as a professional wrestler. Got me.
Fair. Mine is a wee bit different. Me and my mum went up for a weekend away to see have an old family friend up in Aberdeen, and she had sons who were to me, in my head I was 4, so I was 4 or 5, so I was they're 30, they were probably 16. But they showed me a trampoline for the first time.
A trampoline is just a beautiful.
It's
when
amazing.
when you watch wrestling, just
I
broke my neck a few times, close to doing it a few times, but tremendous.
But it was the first time I've been on a trampoline when I went up there. It was the first time I've seen Star Wars as well.
Oh,
but they had, it was either SmackDown vs. Raw, the very first one, or 2006 on the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
And they were if you like, playing games, you'll like this. It's good fun. It's easy to pick up. And I was yeah, cool. I've not really watched wrestling or whatever. And I was looking through it all, and I just seen the Hurricane. Oh. And I was this guy looks like a superhero. I like Spider-Man.
A classic.
So I played with the Hurricane, and then a few months later, a friend of mine who was a year older than me, another close family friend, he had started watching it. So I was on the counter to yours, I was one of the earliest people in my school to start watching it, because my best friend was the year older and he was getting into it at the time everyone did, but I got into it when he did. And then I would say, actually, to follow up with my second question, which is when did you fall in love with pro wrestling? I fell in love with pro wrestling when my dad got me, I remember it still, was still one of my favourite matches. I watched it back recently and it holds up. Judgment Day 2006 DVD, and the opening match is Paul London and Brian Kendrick against Eminem for the tag titles, and that kicked off my love of tag wrestling. And then I was who are these weird guys in colourful trousers doing backflips? I love them. And I kind of think since then I've never looked back on wrestling. So when do you think you...
That's one thing about... I think a thing that really did kickstart the love for me getting in there is a point you've just brought up, and it's so sad nowadays. I miss the DVDs. The DVDs were great. I remember I'd always... Blackpool every year. Blackpool, if you've not been to Blackpool, you're missing out. You're missing out. A terrific place. A good place for wrestling as well.
The Empress Ballroom.
Exactly. But I remember every year I'd go there and I'd come back with at least 5 different wrestling DVDs, and they just helped. You'd buy DVDs for just random pay-per-views you would never consider watching. and then you'd sit and watch the matches of it, and it really helped. It really helped build your understanding of the sport, the characters in the sport. And these could be just random shows that you would just bypass regularly, but the DVDs were so great. And you just don't. I know you get your WWE networks.
I think as well, it's kind of like what you said about the WWE network, is there is such a thing with collecting, because you have all your Apple Musics and your Spotifys and all that kind of stuff. But I love collecting vinyl, and it's like if I go, oh, this is my favorite album ever, and pull my phone out, I know exactly where it is. But like if I have like a collection of vinyl, I'm like, oh wait there, and you're searching through it kind of thing. It's good to have like a physical thing, and I get you. The DVDs were great to have. I had quite a few. WrestleMania 22 was one of the highlights.
Oh, I think if I was to pinpoint, to just come back to your point in falling in love with wrestling, the point where I absolutely, and this is a few years after, the point where I completely fell in love with wrestling, I can't not speak about this while being on a wrestling podcast because it's my favourite moment of all time, is WrestleMania 26, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, goodbye Shawn, emotional, breakdown. Beautiful. It was a show. It was just, you should have seen me, I was a show myself. The tears flowing from my eyes as Shawn Michaels goes up the stage for the last time, only for them to ruin it 7-8 years later as he fights one more time.
So just now that we've got that out of the way, so wrestling right now in 2019 is a bit mad, isn't it?
It's so weird. That's the way I could put it. It's so different. We finally got competition back in the form of All Elite Wrestling.
We've got Impact carving out a nice little niche for themselves. We've got Ring of Honor, despite what we may hear about the backstaging of both of those companies.
Yep.
Ring of Honor is putting on a solid work rate based product. You've got like I say, All Elite Wrestling Dynamite and NXT going head to head. We've got Raw and SmackDown, but we don't really.
We've got Fox in the game here, Jake. We've got Fox here.
Yeah, but we've also got someone dressed as a dog, and I wonder where that angle's going to end, with the dog taking his head off, and oh my God, it's Roman Reigns. Did you see that coming? I feel bad for Baron Corbin because I really like him.
I know, it's a shame, but Baron Corbin's somebody I've been a fan of for a long time.
Because do you remember at the end of last year when the McMahons came out and were like, we know that you guys have been hating the product that we've been putting on Raw for like 4 or 5 months now, and everyone was like, oh, so they're going to take some accountability for it, they're going to break kayfabe a little bit, just say, listen, we've heard you, it's changing. Then Baron Corbin, who was like the constable of Raw, came out, and then they beat him down, and they were like, it's all your fault.
There's no more GMs, there's no more this, that, and next thing, blah, blah, blah. Poor Baron.
Oh, yeah. And then as well, actually, if you look at like the indie scenes thriving, you've got companies like OTT, Progress, ICW, and then you've got, so are you familiar with the Schadenfreude and Friends show from the Frog and Bucket Comedy Club in Manchester?
Now, this was something we were briefly speaking about earlier, wasn't it? It was, I mean, let's just say, it is baffling the stuff you've told me about, but, I mean, Comedy Club, it is in the name.
It is indeed.
I've seen the clip, you asked me, the inflatable... Was it inflatable Curtis?
Curtis Chapman, Mad
Curtis
Kurt,
Chapman
against Drilla Dan Maloney.
This is the beauty of wrestling, isn't it?
Wrestling's fantastic because there are a lot of people, a lot of detractors, and I'm not going to mention his name, but it is JC, and I can promise you right now he's not Jesus Christ. There was a great thing if you listen to a much better podcast, Indie Till Infinity, Sugar Dunkerton and MVP. They talked about MVP is like, I love the Young Bucks as people, I love Joey Ryan as a person, but he's like, that's just not me. That's not what I think is wrestling. And he brought up an interesting point. It was like, when I grew up, the action movies was like Arnie and Sylvester Stallone just fighting dudes. But then The Matrix came out, and then the fight choreography these young kids grew up with was like dodges and kicks and high kicks.
Aye.
So this generation of wrestler now is doing super kicks and backflips, whereas we were just throwing punches and headlocks and stuff. And he was like, whilst I love the Young Bucks, I don't like their style of wrestling. But at the same time, they're making money. It's right. It's not for me, but I'm in no place to say it's wrong because I don't like it. And I think you really do need to have an attitude of that in 2019 when wrestling is such a wide variety of everything.
It's like wrestling is just like anything. It's like comedy. It's like television. It's subjective. You know,
exactly.
You've got to. Everybody has what they like. Like if you want, as you're saying, MVP here. If you want the kind of old school, just kind of throwing punches at each other, there's a reason they tried and failed to bring back something like World of Sport. That was brought back to kind of appeal to audiences who would come to that niche. It really depends. It is subjective.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things. Is like if you don't like it, If you do not like it, then you do not have to watch it.
Oh, exactly.
There is no one strapping you to a chair and making you watch the Young Bucks or Joey Ryan or Baron Corbin or And I get why people complain if it's not their thing, but like I say, wrestling in 2019 is so vast and huge that there is something out there for quite literally everyone.
Exactly. You look at more locally. You've got ICW who have, they have tapped into every sort of genre of wrestling that they could possibly can to try and bring in as many fans as possible. But they know what they do best, and that they built their name through their extreme wrestling. But the comedy that goes through it and everything, it's built for their specific audience. That's there for them. But if you're not a fan of that, they'll get yourself down to, you could go to other shows. You can go to BCW, and yourself at OTT and stuff like that. These are all British wrestling.
The British Isles is up.
Yeah, there's so much around one small tiny island. There's so many different. You can even we now have the opportunity to go and see NXT UK. That's there for the UK fans. There is something for everybody. I think if you're looking in the wrong places, well, there is other places to look. That's the way to put it. Like I don't think you're not, as you said, you're not forced to sit and watch a Young Bucks match or show or whatever. There's so much out there.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, we are slowly running out of time here, Ryan. But thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and hopefully we can do this another time.
I would love to. I would love to be back on the show, talk about some wrestling, and hopefully next time we have something juicy to talk about.
Where can the people find you on the internet?
Well, where can they find me on the internet? That's a question. If you want to keep up with some of my views on certain things, you can get me on Twitter at RyanStephenF. And also, if you're into the old football, then you can check me out on YouTube, as Jake's already mentioned, at Ryan118. Just be searching me up.
Thank you very much, Ryan, for coming on, and I'll talk to you later. So I'm joined now over the phone by one of the biggest up-and-coming stars in British independent wrestling, Aleah James. Aleah, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. That is a claim. That's a very big claim.
Listen, I'm just going off I believe it was Big Dunkzilla, the man himself, booking you after they said 7 matches?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's insane because, despite the fact that you have to be there at the Frog and Bucket to see those shows, even though they record it and just torment specifically me from, to get that shout is massive. So, just what was that like, I guess?
Scary, very scary. I don't know how to explain it. So, when he asked me, I was kind of like, whoa, are you joking? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm ready, but if other people think you're ready, and then you have to kind of trust their judgment,
Yeah. So I actually have a few questions here that I want to ask every guest on the podcast, and it's just 3 quick and easy questions. So, first of all, what's your earliest memory of pro wrestling?
I think my earliest memory is probably... See, my sister is the reason why I first started watching it, because she was the first person to watch it. It was probably Eminem's entrance.
Oh.
That's the first thing I remember. They're so dramatic. The cameras, the red carpet.
The first match I remember watching, it's still one of my favourite matches, is Eminem and Paul London and Brian Kendrick at Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Classic.
So good, all of them.
Oh yeah, they were class. And then I'm guessing it might be the same answer, but when did you know you loved pro wrestling? When did you fall in love?
I think maybe when I was 6 or 7. And my favourite wrestler was Mickie James. So I always just used to watch the show. This was back when there was barely any women's shows, so I'd watch the whole episode hoping that there would be even the 2-minute women's match. And I would always be let down on the episodes, so there wasn't one. I'd be like, what? Waited all this time.
See, I can't even imagine, because I have friends of mine who are girls who are wrestling fans, and they're like, we used to grow up and we just used to, even we were conditioned not to care about, the girls' matches because it would just last a minute and a half. And that's... I suppose now though we've got every, it's insane now.
Yeah, it's so much better now. It's so weird how it's changed, but in a good way, obviously.
And then just another couple of things. So you said Mickie James was your favourite when you were a kid. So then when you decided, later on you kind of knew the workings of it and wanted to get into it, who was, some of the people that you were looking up to then?
I think most probably, for me it's Rey Mysterio, because I quite like his moveset. Obviously, he's very springy. I quite like that. Him, and I quite like Sasha Banks as well. I like her attitude, stuff like that.
So that's just great. I met her. I was doing work experience at a paper here in Glasgow, and she came in because it was when they were taping Raw in Glasgow, and she was just so lovely.
Yeah, she just seems so nice as well, and she just loves wrestling, and that's what I love.
So, how does it feel to be getting the shout by a few people as, like, one of the talent to look out for in BritWres?
It's crazy, because it's like, I was thinking about it the other day, January, I wasn't even training, and I'd like stopped because I thought, do you know what, I'm not going to get anywhere, I'm not going to do it. And then all of a sudden I just woke up and it was like May, and I was like, I need to go now, because if I don't do it now, then I'm never going to do it. And it just is so weird to me that I haven't really been doing it for that long altogether.
Because I must admit, before you did get booked for the Schadenfreude Battle Royale, I actually hadn't heard of you, and then I seen that, and I think it was you done the Riptide Bank Holiday show, I believe.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And I was watching. I think I was watching that just anyway because I think you get it with like your OTT on demand. And then I kind of seen you there, and I was like, oh, she's class. But like you say, we're saying at the start, getting booked on the Schadenfreude doubleheader must be insane, considering like you've got like Zack Sabre Jr. on that show, you've got Tyler Bate on that show, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, crazy. It's the craziest thing. Like, it's still weird to me even when I was like talking with Brooks beforehand, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm sitting here talking with Chris Brooks about our match that we're just about to have, my 4th singles match ever.
Jeez,
and like,
because Chris Brooks has like a mind, like not many people can, when you're talking about like sort of the greats, I guess. And I know this is going to sound so like dumb coming from me, just an out of shape wrestling fan, but it's like Chris Brooks is one of those guys that like you just see all of your favorite wrestlers gushing about on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
so it's just weird to me. Like, I was literally like in York Hall like a few months ago, like watching him, and then I'm like, oh, okay, hey. Like, and he's like, oh, what should we do? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do?
I mean, I think Big Dunkzilla just wanted to see the moonsault double stomp, and that was it.
Yes. Yeah, if I didn't do it, I wouldn't get booked again.
Yeah.
So I had to pull it out.
He's a sweetheart. I've met him at a couple shows, and because me and my friend went to a show in Belfast, met him there, and then a month later it was the OTT 4th anniversary, and we were waiting in the merch line, and he seen us, and he was like, I remember these dudes, I remember these cuties. Aww. And I was like, it warmed my heart so much. I love him.
Yeah, he's so nice. He's so nice.
So who are some of the names that you've kind of, maybe not necessarily been going to guidance for, but like you've like seen on a show or you've worked a show with, and you've learned a lot from them, or even have went directly to for advice?
I think it's Zack Sabre Jr. because he's just like he has a great mind for wrestling as well. It's always the people that they see things in a way that I wouldn't see,
Yeah.
So then like it's just cool because obviously I'm so new to it. I'm too busy worrying about getting through it and not being stressed. I miss sort of some things that people who are more experienced would pick up on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that I train with as well, like, I don't know if you know, like Callum Newman. Like, he helps me a lot with, like, my matches and things that I should try to put in and moves that would, like, suit my style. So I do tend to go to, and my trainers, obviously.
Yeah.
I go to them for a lot of help and advice.
You're training at the London School of Lucha Libre, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah, so I train, that's where I didn't start there. I started at Al Snow's Academy like 2 years ago, and then I stopped going there, and then I trained at Lucha, and I also train at Knuckle Locks as well, which is really good as well. Yeah,
Knuckle Locks just kind of seems like, one, like a good laugh, but two, like you've got like Eddie Dennis showing up, and then you've got like the OGMO and Connor Mills. Well, it's just, that looks insane.
Yeah, they help me a lot as well. They definitely help me a lot, because even at the Schadenfreude shows, OJMO was there, and he was helping me a lot, and telling me what I did wrong, what I did well, which is really useful.
He's another guy that I met, like I hate to be like, oh, I met him at the merch table and he was really nice, but like he I just kind of stayed, and he was like there just like talking, not just being like, here's a t-shirt, here's a photo, leave. You know what I mean? And then I met him in the airport the next day flying back, and he just kind of looked at me and was, I sold you the last shirt last night.
Yeah, he's really nice.
Yeah.
It's like he has the same sort of like how he where he is so quickly.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if I ever needed help with like the pressure or stress of it, like I could ask him and he'd be able to help.
So, like you were saying, the Chris Brooks match was your 4th ever singles match, and the OGMO said on the We the Indie podcast that like you can go into Demand Progress and find his first ever match just full stop. Do you have a similar is your debut like readily available, or have you had a behind closed doors one?
So my debut was at a Lucha show. I don't think it's available, no. It was a chaos match, so it was like a scramble match.
Fair.
Yeah, like five person. I don't think it's available online. Luckily, it's probably really bad. To be fair, I feel like because I haven't had that many. In my head, I think all of the matches, I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch.
Well, from what I've heard, because I have a friend who was at the 2 shows at the Frog and Bucket, and he was saying like, you were a highlight of the weekend because he went there knowing, he knows what Kyle and Chris and all these people are going to do, but obviously went in with sort of not really knowing what to expect from you, and he said you won a fan over that night. So.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's cool.
So here's another thing I just kind of think. Obviously, WWE have been big on pushing the women's revolution. Do you think they're sort of, because I've seen a few sort of different opinions. Some people believe in it was the right time, or it was a PR move because they seen, I guess, like Meiko Satomura specifically, like Eve, Stardom, Sendai Girls. Do you think that they maybe jumped on it when it was popular, or realised they had to, or it was a...
I think maybe it was both. I think everyone kind of knew that something needed to happen, and that's the way that it was going, and you can't really, it's either fall behind or go with it.
Yeah.
I think it's just something that had to happen.
Fair enough.
And if you're that big of a platform, then anything you do will seem like, that you're doing it because of something, but
I suppose
they had to do it regardless,
Yeah, with such like a wealth of female talent in the company, to just not be using them is ridiculous. And I mean, NXT was like, once NXT became the developmental show, it had like a good track record because Triple H seems to know what he's doing. But and I guess speaking of Meiko Satomura, or just any massive women's wrestler, do you have any opponents like on a little checklist somewhere that you would love to tick off?
Do I have opponents on a checklist? Well, I don't know. I would love to wrestle anyone in Japan. Anyone in Japan. I feel like they're all amazing. But in terms of a checklist, I'd say Mickie James, obviously, because I love her. Charlie Evans, because I love Charlie Evans. I love Charlie Evans. She's the best. I'd love to wrestle Kanji. I think she's so cool. So athletic.
Yeah, she's great.
I don't know. Just everyone like in the women's like BritWres, like that I've seen on shows, that I've seen at like maybe Soul. I just think, wow, like I can't wait for it to be me, like with you guys,
Yeah. So do you have any goals you've set yourself? I know you have just started, but maybe not like long-term goals. Maybe none of this. Big massive goals. But like for now, anyway, do you have any like sort of short-term goals? And if you do have any long-term goals, what are they?
I think my short-term goal is really to just get a bit more experience. Have as many matches as I can. Maybe like debut for as many places as I can. That would be maybe a little goal that I could have.
I'm now going to call out ICW, book Aleah James, and OTT. I'll go across to Ireland for some shows, so it's good fun.
Yeah. I think my long-term goal is Japan. I would love to go to Japan. I really had to like Stardom, something like that.
Oh, Stardom.
I'd love to train there at least.
Unreal.
Not have a show there.
Yeah, oh yeah. The way you kind of, I seen a thing because it's just obviously the way they train it in Japan is everyone's like so good at everything, because in the dojo system, you kind of come in that morning and you're like, what we're going to do? We're going to do headlocks. Oh, cool. How long are we going to do headlocks for? Oh, we're going to do headlocks until every single person in this room is perfect at headlocks.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like that's something that I would really benefit from, just drilling everything,
Yeah.
Getting rid of all the nerves, getting rid of all like the rust and all the stuff that I'm not good at.
Yeah, spending like 2 weeks on learning, like kicks, because just stuff like that.
Definitely.
So yeah, thank you very much for talking to me. Where can we find you on the wonderful place that is the internet?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the Aleah James, and you can also find me on Facebook as well, just under Aleah James. I don't think it has a blur. I can't remember. I don't think it does.
Right.
Yeah, that is all.
Right, that's perfect. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And that's it for the very first episode of BritWres is Dead, and we killed her. Thank you to both my guests for coming on. Ryan Fitzsimon's here in the studio, also known as world famous YouTube celebrity Ryan118, and massive thank you to Aleah James for coming in over the phone. Great wrestler, you should definitely check her out. As you heard earlier, she's only starting, so big journey ahead of her. She's unbelievable, and I'm excited to see where she goes. Myself, I'm Jake McFarlane. You can find me on Twitter, my personal Twitter at Jake611_67, or my wrestling Twitter, which I've not used since February, but now that I'm doing this, I might start using it again, at Jake_Heger. If you get the joke, you get it. It's Jake_HEHGER. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.